friends are since.
For today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at another set of headphones. This time, I'm going to be talking about my experience with the 99 Classics from a company called Meze, or Meze. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it. I'm sure they can correct me if they want to send me another pair in future. Anyway, these headphones are particularly nice looking. They've been around for a while and they've gotten quite a lot of attention online, and I've kind of been eyeing them up because I fancied trying them out for myself. However, they're just expensive enough that I didn't want to kind of take a risk and spend the money without kind of knowing what I was getting into. So recently I managed to pick up a good deal on them. I got an open box deal from a decent retailer somewhere for £250, decided to take a punt, and I'm pretty glad I did. So I'm going to share with you my experience of what they're like, tell you a bit about these headphones, and then if you're interested in this kind of thing, I don't know, you can go fucking see if you want to buy them or not. Now, if you're not already familiar with these headphones, part of the reason they get so much attention is because not only do they look great with their walnut wooden ear cups and their, you know, golden trim on the headband, which by the way you can also get in chrome if you're not all that into the bling bling look, but also they sound fantastic, are comfortable, and they're relatively easy to power, being low impedance and also fairly high sensitivity. But I'm going to get into all of that. What you need to know at the moment is that they are closed back headphones, which means that the sound doesn't get out as much and the sound from outside doesn't go in, so they are suitable for wearing if you're around other people, like in an office or at home when somebody else is watching TV and you want to listen to your music. They are not open back headphones, which allows the sound to go out and will annoy whoever you're with, but will often sound better and feel better. And one of the things about these headphones in particular is that they're closed back but seem to perform as if they are more of an open back style headphone. And I know people will disagree with that, but it is true from my experience. So let's talk about them in a wee bit more detail. Now, the first thing to note about these headphones is that when you take them out the box, they do actually look and feel really premium. I think with wood it can go either way. It can maybe be a wee bit tacky at times, but these particular headphones nail it. The wood stain is nice and dark. Everything feels really premium. The metal headband is nice and solid and secure. They feel reassuringly kind of hefty, but also incredibly light when you put them on. And there's all these wee details about the headphones that just, it gives you the impression that they are a premium product, even if they aren't necessarily blindingly expensive like some more highly rated or higher end audiophile headphones may be. Now, one thing that I'm not particularly wild about when it comes to the design of these headphones is the sound that the metal headband makes. Now, to clarify, what I mean is that if you've got the headphones on, particularly or especially if you're not listening to anything and you knock the headband in any way, whether you're touching the metal bit or you accidentally brush up against something, it has this resonance which goes through the ear cups and is actually quite loud in your ears. It's a bizarre kind of sensation, and this in practice isn't a huge deal when you're listening to music. I don't really notice it unless I'm actually like bashing my head off the side of a plane window or something like that. But it is a bit of a strange thing, and I don't know why they didn't pick that up before. Included in the box with the headphones are a bunch of different accessories, which in of their own right seem quite premium. The headphones don't fold up, and so it's nice to see that there's a particularly chunky hard case in there which will let you protect them if you want to take them out and about when you're travelling or whatever. When it comes to cabling, the headphones have detachable cables. They are 3.5mm mono cables on each side, which then join together into a stereo 3.5mm connection on the other end. And in the case, you get two different cables, one which is something like 1.2 meters and it has a built-in microphone. The other cable is an extra long 3 meters cable, which allows you to sit and plug into an amp or something like that if that's what you want to do. As well as this, we have the 1/4-inch jack adapter, which I have to say, unfortunately, is not the screw mount type, which I am partial to. And you also, rather interestingly, have the airline adapter, which allows you to plug into those seat things that they've got in British Airways planes or older American Airways flights. It is quite a nice wee touch. I believe this is partly because the designer of the headphones, or the guy who started the company, said he wanted some headphones that were particularly comfortable and useful for travelling and things like that. So that's a nice wee touch as well. All of the cables and the jack adapters and stuff like that are included in this quite nice felt or fabric pouch thing, which has got a zip on it so you can keep it all organised. And the whole design, particularly the hard case, reminds me of the Neurophones, which comes in a very similar kind of shaped thing, and you know, that's no complaint, that is a nice setup, but it's just interesting to see the similarities there. Now let's talk about comfort, because that is one thing that these headphones are supposedly known for. They were designed to be used for long periods of time so that you don't even notice that they're there, and I have to say that in practice I've found that this is the case. They are remarkably comfortable headphones. In fact, I think some of the most comfortable headphones I've ever worn. Part of this is because of the pads that are on there. They, for whatever reason, manage to feel firm, but also have this softness about them. They don't feel like cheap foam that wears away over time. They're not particularly thin. There's lots of room in the ear caps so that your ears aren't pressing against the insides all of the time. I do feel like if it moved either way, then yeah, my ears would be up against the drivers, but that isn't the case for me, or if it is, I don't notice. They are remarkably comfortable in that regard. The other thing that adds to the comfort is the headband. Now, this is the soft kind of, I don't know whether it's leather or what it is, but when you pull it on, it automatically adjusts to the size of your head, meaning that you don't have that kind of stiff movement where you have to adjust the headphones to like clips or whatever. And this is really useful because it feels much more natural on your head, and it's also much quicker to adjust to whatever position you want to get to. I guess time will tell if the tension remains in the headband enough that it stays comfortable, but to be honest, from what I've seen of reports of other people online, it does seem that is the case, and I'm very pleased to have this level of comfort in my life. It's worth pointing out, by the way, that I'm saying all of this as somebody who has glasses, a beard, long hair, and also piercings, which all get in the way and make finding really comfortable headphones quite difficult. So if I find these to be comfortable, then anybody should. The one thing that I would point out here is that even though they are remarkably comfortable to wear, they're very light, very soft, all that kind of thing, they do get pretty hot over time, and that is the only thing that would stop me wearing these for like 8 hours in a row. Otherwise, they would be perfect, but you do feel a kind of heat around your ears, more so than other headphones that I've been using lately, and in particular the Rode NTH100s, which I spoke about recently with their kind of cooling gel, so that's something to be aware of. Honestly though, I don't find that to be a huge deal. If you're listening to headphones for that length of time, it can be a good idea to take a break anyway, so I'm not totally, you know, put off by that or anything. Now, one of the other features of these headphones is their ability to produce high quality sound without the need for an external DAC, so a digital audio converter or an amplifier or something like that. You know, you're not going to have to go onto massdrop.com or drop.com or whatever it's called nowadays and buy some audiophile level amplifier just to make the most out of these. They have the ability to be driven by something like a phone or a laptop, and that's kind of unusual in this, you know, world of expensive or at least more high performance headphones. Part of the reason for this is that they have an impedance, which I apparently can't say correctly, of 32 ohms, but also they have an unusually high sensitivity for this style of headphone, which means they're easy to drive, you can use them without having to plug into anything else, and that alone is kind of worthy of consideration. Some additional features of these that are worth pointing out are that they are apparently completely disassemblable, in that each individual component can be relatively easily deconstructed and replaced. So if something goes wrong, for example, you bash your ear cup and you need to get a replacement, or I don't know, the headband rips or something, in theory you should be able to get a replacement part and, you know, take it apart yourself and put it together, and it should not require an electrical engineering degree to do so. I have not had to disassemble these headphones, but from what I can tell online, this is the case, and so that's pretty cool in of itself. Now, one more thing that's worth noting is that there are no left and right stereo markers on these headphones, and when I first opened the box and was trying to figure out which way round they should go, I thought this must be some kind of aesthetic choice where they didn't want to blemish the design by putting L and R on the ear cups, which would have been a travesty. However, it's not that at all. Instead, each ear cup is symmetrical and can be left or right depending on which way you plug in the cable, which is actually a really nice feature. The only thing that I don't love about that is that it can be pretty hard to tell which side is which when you just pick them up. There's a wee notch or ridge or whatever you want to call it on the cable itself on the left hand side, but that can be pretty hard to tell if you're just quickly grabbing them, so it would be nice if there was a way to make that a wee bit more obvious, but all in all, that's a pretty cool feature as well. So now we come on to the most contentious part of any headphone review, and that is of course the sound. Now, I'm not going to bore you with frequency response graphs or anything like that because I don't really think they are useful unless you already know how to read them, and sometimes they can colour your perception of headphones without listening to them. Now, I am going to be giving you my subjective experience of these headphones as somebody who makes a lot of music, who listens to loads of different types of music, and also somebody who owns and has tried out a whole bunch of different headphones. So if that's not your thing and you want more an objective, analytical view with the frequency graphs, then you're better looking elsewhere. The first thing you talk about is the bass response, because a lot of the early reviews that I saw of these headphones were saying how the bass could be overwhelming and overtake other elements in the mix, particularly the kind of mid bass. And so I was going in and I kind of hesitant to see what that would be like, but in my experience the bass is not overwhelming at all. It's really nicely balanced. There's enough of it, but it's not going to drown everything else out. Now, some people on Reddit were talking about how there may have been some revisions to the way the bass is handled, so if you're interested in all that, you can go look. I've linked that discussion below. However, whether there have been revisions or not by Meze, it doesn't really matter because I find the bass to be perfectly adequate. When it comes to the rest of the mix, I have to say that the Mezes have got a real character-filled but balanced sound. There's a nice separation between the different elements to the extent that when I've been listening to some of my all-time favourite albums such as The Jesus Lizard, who are my heroes, I've been able to pick out and identify different elements in ways that I wouldn't or haven't been able to from other sets of headphones, and that is always a joy to have happen. One thing that I really like is that there's a proper crack off of the snare drums that you get from these headphones, and the danger with that is that over time that kind of focus on the upper mids or the treble side of things can really fatigue your ears, but I haven't had that experience. So however they've managed to tune things, it sounds great and I haven't got exhausted listening to them in the same way that I might with other more treble forward headphones, shall we say. Overall, these are some of the best sounding headphones I've ever tried that don't require an external DAC or amp, which is really actually pretty impressive. Now let's quickly talk about some comparisons and alternatives so you get an idea of where these are kind of sitting. First of all, from within Meze's own product range, there is an alternative headphone called the 99 Neo. They are meant to be effectively the same headphone but with a different ear cup material. So instead of the nice wooden material that you get on the 99 Classics, you have this hard black plastic on the 99 Neos. Now from reading online, there might be some slight differences in sound, but ultimately they are supposed to be the same headphone. The one big difference between the two of these is that the 99 Neo is about £100 cheaper than the 99 Classic, or at least it is at the moment on Amazon where I live. So that could be a good option if you're interested in that. Similarly, Massdrop or Drop.com have got a version of these headphones called the Noir. They are meant to be the exact same headphones as the Classics, except they have slightly less accessories in the box, and they also have a darker finish to the wood and some cosmetic changes. But if you factor in all the tax and everything, they are also about £100-ish cheaper than the 99 Classics are. However, if you live in the UK or Europe, you have to buy them from the US, which is always a pain in the arse. And there were apparently some mold problems with the initial batches of these, so that's why I chose not to go with them, even though they looked pretty good. Another set of headphones that you could ostensibly compare the 99 Classics to are the DT770 Pros from Bear Dynamic. Now obviously everybody knows these headphones. They are a studio staple around the world. They are big over-ear, close-back headphones with a rigid headband so they don't fold up. So there's a lot of similarities here. However, they have a much higher impedance, so you can't really use them unless you've got an external amp or DAC, at least the default option anyway. They don't have removable cables, which is always annoying. They're not as comfortable as the 99 Classics by far, even though they are relatively comfortable, but ultimately also they are aiming to be a much flatter headphone in terms of frequency response, which means that they don't sound as interesting as the Mezes do. Of course, they are about £200 cheaper than the Meze Classics, but it really depends on what you're wanting to get these for. Now, the other set of headphones that you might want to consider in relation to the Meze Classics are the Rode NTH100s, and the reason I'm bringing these up in particular is not just because I reviewed them fairly recently, so you can go watch that video if you're interested, but also they're in a similar bracket of headphone in the sense that they are wired headphones, they don't have noise cancellation, they're not Bluetooth, they're really designed to be used in a studio or in the house or something like that. Now, the Rode NTH100s are really interesting headphones with a bunch of unique features. They're particularly comfortable and they have these cooling pads on the ears that let you wear them for hours and hours without overheating. And they're also more than half the price of the Meze Classics. However, their use case is kind of different in the sense that the Rode NTH100s are really designed for people that are making music or doing video production or whatever it might be. hence why they have a similar impedance to the 99 Classics. So if you want to get headphones to sit and edit your videos or whatever, the Rode NTH100s are a great option. But if you want to sit in your studio or your office or in the living room listening to music and really enjoying it, then it might be worth getting the 99 Classics. That's kind of how I divined them up in my mind anyway. Now that's not to say that the Rode NTH100s don't sound good, because they definitely do. It's just that their primary purpose is slightly different from the Meze 99 Classics. Much more focused on content creation and video production and that kind of thing. Much more focused on kind of audiophile style listening. So in summary, I really love these headphones. I'm glad I took the chance on them. Even more glad that I got a pair in good nick for 250 quid instead of the retail of 290. But anyway, they sound fantastic, as I've said. There's a definite character to them that I don't get from my other headphones. The fact I can drive these and get such a good sound without having to use a DAC is brilliant. Beforehand, I'd been using my DT990 Pros with an E10K from Fio to get a similar kind of experience, and this is just much better, much more portable, even though they don't fold up. I would love it if they did fold up so I could take them in a plane and enjoy that experience of comfort and, you know, audio quality whilst I was traveling. However, that would also kind of ruin the design and make them not as comfortable with that kind of headband and everything else. So, you know, it's a trade-off. Despite the very hot ears that I get from using these headphones for extended periods of time, which to be fair is probably my own fault as a big hairy bastard, then I have to say they are incredibly comfortable and they're a joy to wear. If you're looking for a great pair of headphones that allow you to sit and have high quality audio whilst you're in amongst other people, whether that's at an office, sitting next to somebody who's watching the TV, or just enjoying music in general, these are a really good option, and I have to say they are worth the money. For now, that's all I've got to say. If you've got any questions about them, drop them below, and goodbye.